Welcome to Don Trey's Grapevine Podcast. This is our second episode, and normally, Dad, we said we were going to do it every Monday, but big news in the National Hockey League. So right off the bat, Dad, what'd you think of the firing of Mike Babcock?
Yeah, I guess we'd have to get going, have to talk about Babcock. You know, when you see the president fly out on a road trip, and then you see the general manager fly out on a road trip, then you see the coach of the minor team, the Marlies, fly out on the same trip. You kind of know, unless you want a rock falling on your head, you know what's going on. And he knew when he saw those guys out there that his days were numbered. Now, first of all, I'd like to say I really believe that the timing is really funny to me. I just don't understand the timing. You're going into Arizona, but I would have waited till he got back. I would have let him have and you know, a lot of people say, well, maybe what if he had if he won both games, then you wait. But I would have waited for the Buffalo-Detroit series. You're at home, you know, the whole deal. You got a chance there. He's walking in. He's going to have a tough time. Now let's just talk about Keith. Keith's got a great record everywhere he's been. He's been a winner. I mean, the Leafs. You have to look at the Leafs, and they're not playing .500 hockey. It looks like they're, I don't know what they say. They had a pretty good game in Vegas, and Fleury had to make the save of the year to keep them in there. But, you know, it was the time to go. I think Babcock's just as happy. I really do believe, and I really strange. He thanked the three. He said, I think he came here because of Tannenbaum, and he thanked Riley, the only player he thanked, and Lou Lamoriello. It was strange that he thanked those three guys. And the only thing I say about the whole finding right now is that the timing is kind of funny. I just don't get the timing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, Keith's going to have two tough games coming up. You have always said to me that a coach has 5 years, and Babcock was here 4.5 years. You say after 5 years, it becomes tough for a coach. Well,
what happens is they've heard all your routines. They've heard all your tricks or whatever you want to call. 5 years, unless you're Scotty Bowman and you have a team that everybody makes the Hall of Fame. Very few, even Scotty got, well, I hate to say it, he did really get fired in Buffalo when he didn't have the goaltending. But unless you're Scotty Bowman, everybody, I remember the very first time that I was really thrilled. I got made coach, and I heard a reporter ask the guy back at me, Doug Adams, general manager, well, how do you think Cherry's doing? I said, I don't know. They're all hired to be fired, and we all get fired. And I think I knew I was in the fifth year. I was in tough shape. I'll tell you a funny story. What happened? Well, it's not funny, I guess, when you get fired. But what happens is everybody kind of stays away from you. The trainer, well, he doesn't want to get too chummy with you because you'll be one of their guys gone. And the scouts, well, you don't want to get too chummy with you. Everybody starts staying away from you. And I often tell the story that for 5 years in a row, I got a new equipment bag and on the road and everything. And then Boston Bruins, Don Cherry coach. And my last year, I got a bag and it said, Boston Bruins coach. I know I was in trouble.
Did when you were playing, did you ever, was a coach ever fired midway through the season and then came in?
No, I can't remember any coach that I was never ever any coach that when I played. Coaches were never fired during the season. I don't know. There'll be a big spurt. There's no doubt about it. The Leafs will take off a little. They'll play a little different. Every time a coach comes in and he takes over like that, it's like almost you bring in a goaltender or something like that. There'll be a spurt there. They'll have a new thing, and hey, half the guys there, Keith knows them. So, and like I said, he has a pretty good record. I think he's 10-2 in Marlies, and he's won a few championships down there. So we'll see. As they say, we'll see what he can do. You know, it's funny when they let Lou Lamoriello go, who went to the Islanders, and as we speak, I think they're 13-2 or something like that. You see the two guys that Lou picked up. He picked up Komarov, or whatever you call him. He was a Russian, but he caused a lot of trouble. Banging around, smashing, and he was ready to go. But the first guy he picked up was Martin. And let me tell you, boy, there's nobody tougher in the league than Martin. and he plays with Cutter Butt there. A few guys, Cecily, that guy from, how do you pronounce that guy's name from?
Casey Tzidkikas.
Tzidkikas. He's from Mississauga here, boy. That's the best fourth line. I don't call it a fourth line. Yeah, Lou knew what he was doing when he picked up those guys. You need that tough guy. So at Leafs, let's hope they do better. I hope they do better because I'm a Leaf fan ever since I was a kid.
So, Dad, Keith's coming in, and he's, from the American League, and he's going in, and he's going to be coaching in the National Hockey League now. What do you feel he needs to do?
Well, the funny thing is he's got a position that I don't think many coaches have. Most of the players know him. Most of them come from the Marlies, so he'll have to go in. He's got a good reputation. I know this is what he's been working at. Must have been tough on Babcock to know that they had a guy waiting in the wings just ready to come in. And Dubas, they both were in the Sault Ste. Marie, and they were just waiting to come in. So it must have been tough on Babcock, knowing they had a beautiful guy waiting in the wings, just hardly wait to take over. Yeah, I always remembered when I got fired, the guy was going in, and I just hope he doesn't say something to the effect, well, they'll be in better shape, they'll play a better system, because that's a real put down. So far, he hasn't said a word. I hope he keeps his mouth shut and just coaches. I remember the first time I was fired, and you have an idea. I mean, you're not stupid. The guy's calling you into the office and everything. So I got called into the office, and I remember Doug Adams. He was a good guy and everything. He just following orders from above. And he sat down. I remember he was smoking a little cigarillo or whatever they call it. And he said, we're making a change in your department. And honest to God, for about 10 seconds, I thought, who's in my department? And I thought, it was me. And I was gone. And, I have to tell you, they had a secretary there. I won't tell you what I called her to myself. And she snickered as I was walking out. And I remember they had a PR guy. He was a good guy. I guess he was a good guy. He snickered too. I think they were happy I was fired. I went out and I closed the door. Then I went back in. I said, you should never snicker and laugh at me after a bad thing happens to me because I'm like a bad penny. I'll be back.
So let's, maybe we'll talk a little bit about Colorado. And just before we get into that, there was kind of a feeling something was going to happen. And it was the last game of the season, and we were playing Pittsburgh, and you couldn't believe the snowstorm that was raging. And we had a complete sellout because I think a lot of people knew something was coming. And I remember you were wearing a big 10-gallon hat, cowboy hat, and as you walked off the ice, all the players put their sticks in the air, and you walked underneath their sticks. And then tell us what happened after that game. Well,
that was really funny. The Denver Post, I was pretty popular out there, and the Denver Post, I think it was the Denver Post, the paper, they had a poll, and they said, should Cherry be fired or should Cherry not be fired? And I remember it was 3,500 wrote in, said I should stay with the club, and 52 were written in or whatever they do, and they said I should be fired. And then the paper phoned me, and I said, I didn't know Ray Miron had 52 friends. But I made fun of it. But let me tell you something. It's tough on Babcock, and it's tough on the families. I was the highest paid coach in Denver in the National Hockey League, but it didn't matter. And it doesn't matter to Babcock. I know he's putting on a good show, and he's saying thanks very much for the opportunity and all stuff like that. But let me tell you, it's tough on the families. I don't care who it is. When you get fired, and he believes that he could have turned this team around. I mean, if you didn't believe in yourself, then who do you believe in? It's tough on him, I'll tell you that. It's tough on his family, and I wish him best of luck. As we go, I'd like to talk. It's not a very nice thing to be fired, believe me. And I've been involved in it, and it really does hurt your family. But I remember when I was coaching. And I remember a guy named Billy Ray. He was a coach of Chicago. He's quite successful. And when they get rid of him, I remember he was on the road, and not funny, and he was taking his coat off, and he saw a note being shoved underneath the door. He picked it up, and he said, "You're fired." Now, that's pretty tough. I think a few more was Bill Gadsby. I remember reading about this one, that Bill Gadsby was coach in Detroit, I think his record was 2-0. He had a great record. And they called him in and said, you're going to be fired because you don't look good behind the bench. Now, I don't know I guess I look good behind the bench. One thing I did, I look good behind the bench. But I think one of the funniest ones, and I guess they're all funny, that Harry Neal, when he was within Vancouver, he was the general manager. And Roger Nielsen, they were sitting in a hotel room, and Roger Nielsen was sitting watching television with him. And the owner phoned and said, I want you to fire Roger Nielsen. And Harry said, gee, I don't want to, I will not fire Roger Nielsen. I will not fire him. He's a good coach. And the owner said, and I think this is the story behind all firing in the National Hockey League or any sport. He said, gee, I hate to see two guys leave. Well, there you are, Don Cherry's Grapevine, number 2. We didn't usually do it like this, but when Mike Babcock, a good guy, gets fired, when a guy gets fired like that, we do an extra one. Now, I've been told by people that listen, I think we're up around 100,000 people, that they would like us to more, or like me to more, to talk about the National Hockey League, which I will. I'll get in right up to date on the National Hockey League. You won't have to get any other information but here. And we are also going to talk about fine broth of a lad, Boston strong boy. I always call him fine broth of a lad, Terry O'Reilly, this Monday.